Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to see so many of you joining us today. During today's panel, we will be discussing what kind of strategies companies use for acquiring users when they operate globally. My name is Kristina Randver. I'm an industry head at Google, leading the large customer business in Google for Baltics. My team partners with companies that are originating from Baltics and operating globally, and we support them in their user acquisition in existing markets or when they expand to new markets. I'm very happy that I have Nauris Brūvelis from Bolt and Daugirdas Jankus from Hostinger with me today. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey.
Hello.
Both companies are very successful operating in many markets, but use very different approaches when entering new markets. And we're going to talk more about this today. So Nauris is online advertising lead for Bolt. Those who don't know, Bolt is Estonian unicorn and offers ride-hailing, micromobility, food delivery services, and just a few weeks ago also started offering car sharing services. Bolt operates in more than 250 cities in more than 40 markets in Europe, Africa, Asia, but also North and South America. And Daugirdas is a chief marketing officer at Hostinger. Hostinger is a Lithuanian company that offers web hosting services in more than 40 countries globally. So Daugirdas and Nauris, can you briefly introduce yourselves? Tell us what are your main responsibilities in the companies that you work?
Yeah, Kristina, thank you for the intro. And you did a great job already. So I think I can simply add that my main objective and our marketing objective here at Hoster is user acquisition. So we are focused on growth and acquiring new users. That's the main priority for me, besides a couple of more, second degree priorities.
And thank you also, Kristina, about the intro. As you mentioned, I'm Bolt. I'm online advertising lead at Bolt. I'm managing a small but hyper effective, efficient team that's handling huge amount of campaigns as we operate in more than 40 countries in more than 200 cities. We have a campaign for each city almost. And besides that, we have multiple verticals. And similar as Daugirdas, the focus is user acquisition for us. So yeah.
Thank you. So last years have been very successful for both Hostinger and Bolt. From your perspective, can you please share 3 key strategies or factors that helped your companies to succeed? Nauris, maybe you start.
3 successful strategies that helped succeed. Well, I think sort of a bigger thing that has helped to succeed is that having founders and the core team who is extremely pragmatic, but at the same time daring and up for big challenges. But if it's just 3 things, then I would say that being very honest about the main product features that customer expects from the product and the service. As otherwise, if you have a broken product or service, then most likely you getting users will be twice as expensive, and they won't stick around for long anyway. So yeah, in our case, and the focus is on affordability, on search network, on short waiting times, and then also giving good commissions for drivers. That helps them to earn money. And the second point would be having truly local approach. Whenever we launch a new market, we find the right people who match the traits and culture that's in Bolt, And we truly work with them on finding the best way how to transfer the product to the local city and market. And there are other features available in some markets, as well as the industry is very regulated, meaning that we work with also with municipalities. And the third would be that not settling for comfort level at the comfort level, and therefore sacrificing growth, because I think Bolt could have easily be could have been a successful Baltic region ride-hailing company, but it went beyond the region, and it even went further beyond the continent, and now it's launching multiple verticals. And I think that's also important, that at one point you can easily say that, okay, it's enough, but you're missing out great opportunities as well.
Yeah, so if I can add to this, so I'm afraid I will not share any silver bullet techniques, but maybe, you know, the audience who is watching this, maybe you will feel inspired, you know, by this, and you know, you can align yourselves on the correct path. So I heard that a lot of things, you know, from Nauris that we do here at Hostinger as well. So number one priority for us that helped us to succeed and to continuously grow is focus on our clients. So we really dig deep, and we really want to understand, you know, what our clients and what our audience want to do and how we can help. We do that thanks to the great team that we have. We are growing fast in headcount as well, but we are still very lean in our operations. We are really inspired by Two Pizza Team concept by Amazon. So we are really working on it. We are really working on attracting the best talent, and then growing ourselves as people, as personalities, and as professionals within our niche, and then, you know, driving growth for our organization. And the third thing for us is our principles. So we have 10 principles, and we we build our operations around those. So, you know, we really embed them in our hiring process, in our feedback process, in our development process. That helps us to really stay on the same page, even though we are kind of decentralized in our operations. So yeah.
Thank you. Many companies are focusing, in general, growing their user base online, especially nowadays. How acquisition strategies in your companies are made?
I'll start then, I guess. Looking back at how Bolt's strategy for acquiring users through paid channel has been, I think one important thing is that we've never been scattered around a lot of platforms, a lot of paid channels, but rather have had an approach where we really deep dive into few biggest channels, which we see that have the greatest opportunity for us, meaning that we can scale them across different countries, and we can apply the best practices. And as well as we can be assured that from technical side, everything is set and done properly. Then besides that, I would say that the answer is very ordinary. It's like that we have really performance-driven approach. Most of our campaigns are optimized towards acquiring new users, whether those are riders, drivers, eaters, restaurants. And as we run an app, then we have additional huge communication channel with the customers, and therefore strong retention, and we can be more focused on the acquisition side. But besides that, the focus is on analytics as well. We're deep diving into channel attribution, understanding the customer unit economics, and in order to see at what point investment isn't efficient anymore, and we can actually focus more on brand, upper funnel campaigns and loyalty and such things. But from operational perspective, with the acquisition campaigns, I think for us it's really important that in order to keep not go insane, is that we have so many campaigns that have really defined structure of all campaigns of ads, and also have the defined approach how to quickly scale good performing things in one country to another. That's also important. And besides that, I think it's always extremely important to have a good technical hygiene in order that you can later on just focus on creative optimization and finding the best matching value prop that users find attractive.
For us, I will repeat myself a little bit, but our principles help a lot. So we really apply those in how we strategize for growing our user base. So usually we start with the clients, and we come to our existing clients with the mindset, to really learn about them. And our main objective is to kind of have the image of the audience that we already get, and then we go out on the field and we search for ways on how we can get more of clients like those. That usually ends up in us testing things for ourselves. It is once again one of our principles, freedom and responsibility, for example, or learning and be curious. So we kind of have this freedom to experiment ourselves, and we are really happy, by doing that. So then we go and we experiment, with various different geos, with various different channels. And we, once again, most probably very similar to Bolt and to Nauris, we check the data to kind of search for those, channels or activities that are building traction for us. And once we have that, we focus on scaling the operation. And sometimes scaling the operation means, really becoming professionals of particular field or channel. Sometimes beyond that, it goes to building teams, hiring more people, and kind of, building operations around various different channels or markets.
But Daugirdas, what are the main acquisition channels for Hostinger? Where you and how you acquire new users or your customers?
Yeah, so for us, it's kind of like, it's double-edged sword for us. So our service is a commodity service. We see it that way. It's an old service. It's been there, before Bolt, before Google, before Facebook. Basically, web hosting started when the internet started, right? So our clients do a lot of research, and the competition is quite tough. So for us, the goal is to be where our clients are. Our objective is to kind of be in front of them when they decide, that they need to do something, that they need the website. And then what we are focusing on is providing a premium quality service, basically the best quality service for the best price possible. And usually, clients once they are exposed, to the reviews that other clients share, reviews that media does about us, they make their decision. So I don't know. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, maybe just a few examples where then the users come, which channels they use. Are they coming directly for you, organically searching, or is there any other acquisition channels that you are using?
Yeah, the big channel, let's say, for us is direct traffic and our brand. But we kind of understand that this doesn't happen, like that. We have to invest to build this. So what we see that the clients are collecting information through various different kind of channels. So for us, influencers is a big channel, affiliates is a big channel, and also Google ads and Facebook ads are big channels for us, because our goal and objective is to be where our clients are. So I don't know, one of the most recent examples and case studies that we did is scaling YouTube ads, because it kind of like is at the top of the funnel, and we use it to kind of gain awareness, to kind of like familiarize our audience, with us. And then, we see, that effects of these activities spill over through all of the other, let's say, performance channels, and even translates into direct brand and direct traffic, which, it's kind of free, but, you have to do something to build it.
Thanks for sharing. Nauris, maybe you want to also share what are the main channels where or how Bolt is acquiring customers.
We have strong internal channels as well, which is referrals that are huge when we launch cities. When we launch cities, also PR contributes a lot as well. But from paid channels, Google ads, Facebook ads, also for drivers, and also then Apple and Snap is our four biggest channels, I would say. And in terms of specifically campaigns, so as we are app, then most of campaigns are app. However, for drivers, we also do a lot of web conversion campaigns, and then we test out different approaches as well. And then I would say that even going deeper, then it's really understanding what messages are sort of the biggest contributors to growth, and establishing also the brand presence, because eventually, if you do performance campaigns in such level, they are also communicating the brand as well. And yeah, besides that, we have also teams that are working with influencers, and social media team, which is also working with the content as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Both of you were mentioning a lot that you are very much performance oriented. How do you measure success of in a very specific market or a city? How this is done, for example, in Bolt?
I think at Bolt there are multiple stages where you can sort of measure success differently. So before we are launching city, we need to have a base of drivers or couriers, depending is it food delivery or ride hailing, and then the success is getting high quality leads with the CPA that makes economical sense for us. And when, of course, the city is launched, then this is the sort of groundwork for successful operations, because otherwise we won't have enough supply. And when that's done, then of course it's about scaling, about getting more users. As I mentioned, for us, referral codes are also a huge channel, but ads contribute still high number of users. And there it's like the beginning stage is where you sort of set the base for good operations, and also that to achieve at one point the profitability. So it's not that you do something immediately after a launch and it's success. It's basically you have to accept that there are a few months where you're just nurturing the city and then helping it grow. And when the market has already matured, then the usual success or even I would say the challenge is that as we operate marketplace between the supply and demand, then it's having the right balance, because even with paid channels, you can negatively affect that. For example, if you too much run ads for acquiring drivers, and at one point there are too many drivers, and then you will have problems with retention. And on the other side, it can be also with demand. It's, if there's too much demand and not enough drivers or couriers, then the waiting time will be very long. So it's usually in the sort of maturity, at that maturity level, it's balancing that operations aren't affected, but at the same time we help the growth. And yeah, for riders, it's understanding about the lifetime values whenever you launch because at the beginning you can only just forecast with not a high confidence what are the lifetime values from the users. So later on you can be quite certain about the lifetime values and like in what time frame does user become break even and then profitable. I think that the very last stage is when the city or market has already matured, and we see that the paid channels are even cannibalizing the organic acquisition. And at that is the point basically where we need to start to change our thinking, that we move away more from purely user acquisition, that we focus more on loyalty and brand awareness marketing activities, because that's basically to protect your user pool from other competitors coming in.
And Daugirdas, how you do this in Hostinger, how you measure the success of a specific market in Hostinger?
Yeah, for us, I think we are also performance-based and pragmatic. So at first, it's like, let's say, simple business KPIs, new users, total users, new revenues, existing revenues. And we kind of, when we start, we usually deploy our base level operations with Bolt and Nauris. It's like hiring drivers, and having the base for operations. For us, it is usually, with localization of our websites, of our content, and it's, a big stuff to do. Then, having organic channels covered, like SEO, for example. And we see it as a starting, the fire. And then with the performance and paid channels, we basically start growing, our market share. And then we start focusing on brand voice share and growing our brand. Because once again, the decision window of our audience is a bit longer. And we kind of have to familiarize ourselves with the market. And after that, it's the combination of business KPIs, plus once again we are really focused on the clients. That means we are focused on the market as well. So we want our brand to also perform. Because it is like a long decision window, and we want to be familiar to our audience. Once they decide that they need our services, that they need to start a website or host their website somewhere else.
Thanks for sharing. We talked a bit earlier that you both operate in 40 plus countries globally, but also in many different cities. If we talk about Bolt, then how do you decide in your company which new market or city to go next? How this process is going or taking place in your companies?
At Bolt, we have expansion team who is constantly looking for new opportunities in which market to go in. And there are multiple factors that they need to take into account as the industry is very competitive. And then it's understanding whether in long term you can take some part of of users in particular city. So it's doing really making a strong business case for that to understand whether it's a few months, whether it's half a year, whether it's a year, when you should achieve this success sort of from business level. And then also there is another important thing is regulation, as the industry is regulated highly as well. And that's the reason why in some European markets, customers are getting better experience and there are multiple services and providers, while in others, the quality is limited. So in this case, it might be that actually there is some market on the radar for a long time, but it just dependent on the regulation. And we are, in many cases, we are actually closely working with the regulators to understand, okay, when what's happening and so on. And then the other thing is that purely operational things, like what's the city size, what's the population, and then other demographical and economical statistics.
But is there like a one thing that, okay, this is there and then we are going to this market? Is there any one factor that is a key thing when you decide?
In general, I think one thing is for us that, so when you understand what are the things that either drivers or riders are missing out with some of the competition, and you solve that with your product, then that's also a big reason actually to go in. But in general, yeah, I would say that, like, of course, one thing is for sure is regulation. There are like multiple countries where we have went in as soon as the regulation has been changed. And yeah, but in general, it's also about bigger business goals, in the sense that which regions we define as our home market. It's not that for us Baltics is home market, but also Europe and Africa is home market, and that's as well that we establish ourselves in this region, that we are not scattered across the whole globe, though we have also markets in Asia and then in America as well, but yeah, that's sure.
Thanks. Daugirdas, how it is in Hostinger? How do you decide that this is our next market? What's the process behind that?
For us, it's a good thing and a bad thing, you know, this many markets. First of all, we have a lean team, so we constantly have to rethink where we are focusing on. That helps in prioritization, in really understanding, you know, what to focus on. And on the other hand, we kind of have our operations deployed in 40 different markets, and it's a huge challenge for our localization, SEO, and content teams. But we have our own data, and we can see, you know, some market shifts and traction building up. And if we see, you know, the speed of growth sufficient enough, then we start adding other channels to this organic market mix. So yeah, so we kind of like have this base of operation deployed. We keep track, you know, of the market, both from our data and from external data, And then we kind of work on OKRs, on quarterly OKRs. So we kind of like revisit, you know, our focus markets from time to time. And then, you know, through focus, we kind of like scale, you know, geo by geo, step by step.
Thank you. Both of your companies are using Google advertising solutions to grow your business. What works and what are the biggest learnings for you?
For us, Google is a huge channel for user acquisition, both drivers and riders. As of course, as we operate with an app, then app campaigns, UACs, universal app campaigns, is a must for us. And but besides that, of course, also search and also video, YouTube campaigns, and we do also brand awareness campaigns time by time. What works for us is that actually, again, like understanding what to optimize towards too. That's important. All the technical hygiene to have it in place, and applying the best practices. And once that is done, that you are optimizing to the right event, and then you have you achieved certain level of awareness in the market, then I would say that it's really important to focus on creative optimization, to see how you can attract other audiences, because of course there's always sort of given audience that is more likely to convert, while eventually you run out of those users, and then you need to understand, okay, what are the main drivers for other audiences to switch from car and start using ride hailing or to drive with Bolt as well. And yeah, so we have seen several stunning results from this by just creating different ad groups, different content, and then different value props, and actually has helped us to scale.
Any learnings that you want to share?
Learnings, I would say, yeah, definitely for ad campaigns, having multiple ad groups, just and then really think whether they are not overlapping in terms of messaging, that you definitely are targeting different audience than the other ad groups are, and of course really focusing also on video content for the ads. That's really important.
Daugirdas, how it is in Astinger? What are your learnings and what has worked well?
Yeah, Kristina, thank you for asking this. I think I didn't give our Google team enough credit, but it's because we treat our Google team, you know, as part of our team. So we work really closely, and we sync quite well. And for example, when it comes to expanding to new markets or scaling in the existing ones, our Google team and Google Export team really help us, you know, to kind of how to say gain that additional you know, percentage of confidence. And when we sync, you know, with our team, it kind of like helps us to be more confident with our moves, because sometimes, you know, it takes time to really like see the results. So, you know, like we are very open and we work like a single unit. So so that's working great for us. And I think one of the biggest breakthroughs, or I don't know, success cases for us, there are many, you know, and they are happening, you know, all of the time. But one of the biggest like ones that you know, are coming right straight to my mind, you know, when we are talking about this and our partnership with Google, is YouTube advertising. So I know 2 or 3 years ago we went to the conference in Dublin, and there were some presentations about video ads and YouTube ads in general. And we saw, you know, some companies who were really successful in that. we had an opportunity to talk directly, with those companies, to share the knowledge. And when we flew back to Lithuania, we ran a couple of experiments internally, mainly with YouTube ads. So basically what we did, we filmed our ads ourselves, and we put them to test, and it was success right away. Fast forward now, I don't know, 1 or 2 years, we have a full team focused just on that. So our creatives production team is now, I don't know, 10, 12 people strong. And it's a big part of our business and of our success. So it's great. We're really happy about it.
Thank you for both of you sharing your learnings and what works well. Maybe one of my last questions would be, what's the biggest challenge that you have as a marketers when you work in companies which are expanding very quickly and the growth is your main goal? Daugirdas, maybe you want to start.
Yeah, so the growth was always there for us, but as the scale increases, the growth, like the absolute numbers of the growth are increasing as well. So I would say, like, having enough structure and clarity within the organization is a challenge, because we have to have it, as we scale our operation, as we increase our headcount, as we increase our channels and budgets and etc. But at the same time, keeping the freedom to experiment, to innovate, to make mistakes, and to challenge, the status quo, and to challenge our own established operations, because at this pace of growth, the standard operating procedures get outdated really, really fast, So we have to always keep our open minds, and sometimes even challenge ourselves, not sometimes, very often we have to challenge ourselves, because the things that we did, half a year ago might be not optimal ways of doing things now. And these things are changing really, really fast, So I think that's the biggest challenge, balancing the chaos of fast growth environment and balance, the structure and clarity of growing organization.
I agree with Daugirdas. It's about to keep up with the pace, that you have to have a defined structure and defined approaches that are shared across teams, and basically that the team members and actually the whole company, people can work individually as well as in teams, and basically they have the knowledge and they understand why do we need to do it, and why do we have to do it in this way. And besides that, I think the freedom element is also very important, because it really helps to sort of to have positive experience throughout the process, that you do when you implement more and more rules. And at one point it just becomes very technical, and it can block your own creative side as well. So I think that freedom element is also very important, and also the sort of human element into it, especially in current time, that teams are working from homes and etc. So it's also very important to understand. Otherwise, I think Daugirdas put it very nicely.
Thank you both for sharing your growth stories and how your companies have been expanding, and what are the main user acquisition channels, but also strategies, how you grow and become globally so successful. We have also participants' questions, so maybe we move to the questions now.